For this video, I've compiled a bunch of playoff statistics from the 4 major legions in League of Legends across the years from 2016 to 2021 this season. That means 6 seasons of League of Legends. I've checked how the regular season placing affected how the teams did in the playoffs. Namely, what I looked at was which seed from the regular season finish ended up winning the championship, which one ended up second in the final. These are the 2 first columns. And then I looked just in general in all the playoff series in all of these regions in the past 6 seasons. How many times did the higher seed from the regular season win in the playoffs, and how many times did the lower seed win? Afterwards, I of course compiled this into a win rate, average win rate for each region of the higher seed against the lower seed in the playoffs. And this last column is just looking at basically the first 2 columns, that being the finals participants' average seed. So from the regular season, which placing do the teams usually have that make it to finals? And you can read quite a bit into this data. It's very important to note though, this only shows a couple of trends. There's a bunch of context needed to be applied to understand each and every one of these statistics, and there's no definitive results to be interpreted from these numbers because they are heavily affected from different playoff formats over the years, as well as a bunch of other factors that are not represented in these numbers. These only show trends, and you need to be very careful in, well, drawing conclusions from them, which is why I won't be drawing any conclusions from these numbers. I will just give my theory as to how they emerge from these past 6 years of competition. And there's 2 very interesting things that I want to point your attention towards. The first one being North America's defeatist mindset. This defeatist mindset is often attributed to North American teams at the World Championships or the Mid-Season Invitationals to a lesser extent. People are basically saying that North American teams already coming into the event feel like they have no chance at winning and therefore hurt their chance at winning. And this attribute is somewhat reflected in the stats right here. As you can see, North America is the region with the highest playoff higher seed win rate. That means in the North American playoffs in the last 6 years, if you're the higher seed in a playoff series, you're more likely to win than in any other region. And that could be one factor that contributes to that, could be the defeatist mindset of the players. It's only a rather slim difference, but compared to the other 3 regions, it can clearly be seen that in North America that win rate is about 3% higher than in second place Europe. So what does it mean? Well, it might mean that in North America, if you perceive yourself as the underdog, many players simply, that at least doesn't help their performance. In other regions being the underdog, or not other regions, I don't want to make this about region versus region, but many people as the underdog feel like it empowers them. It gives them a chance to upset without too much expectations on them. But it seems as though that analysis for North America at Worlds might be spot on in saying that these players have more trouble than other regions in assuming that underdog position and still performing well enough. The second thing I want to point your attention towards is China. And not only do China and Korea have very low playoff higher seed win rates, very low might sound a bit exaggerated, the lowest ones out of the 4 major regions at least, which means that in China and Korea the underdog teams have the best performances in the playoffs, and at least if you assume the lower seed to always be the underdog in this series, which again isn't always the case, so please be careful in interpreting these statistics. But as well in China we have this very unique statistic. On average, with EDG winning this year's summer playoff over FPX, on average the champions playoff seed, so the regular season finish of the team that won the split in China, the average regular season placing of a split winner in China is 2.3333. And the same stat is true for the runner-up. This means that in the LPL finals, no matter who wins or who comes second, both these teams usually have comparable placings in the regular season. And for all the other 3 regions, you can see that the champion usually is between the number 1 and the number 2 team from the regular seasons. And only in China, it's on average the number 2 to number 3 team who ends up winning the championship. Now this could mean a bunch of different things, such as China usually, maybe the density and strength between the top 3 teams is really close in China. They might have really strong teams. Or maybe their playoff format just rewards the second and third place team and gives them more of a chance to win the title as well. But I still wanted to point it out because it's very cool and it's really the only region where this is true. But the most crucial thing is, if we look at the final participant seed, China has the lowest champion playoff seed, meaning the team that wins the title places lower in the regular season than in any other major region. But the finals participation seed is still on the same average as all the other 3 regions. And the only reason that Korea has a lower finals participant seed is because in Korea, for 5 out of these 6 years that I've analyzed, there were only 4 or 5 teams in the playoffs in the first place. So this stat is a little bit skewed in Korea. These stats are always going to be the first one, this one, and this one as well, always going to be a bit lower than in the other regions, simply because there's just less seeds in the Korean playoffs than in the other regions. But regardless, China has a very average finals participation seed. Means the average strength of teams from the regular season that make it to the finals is the same in China than in Europe or North America. But the only difference is that in China, no matter if you're first or second or third in the regular season, if you make it to the finals, your win rate is 50-50 against the other team. If you make it to finals as the first seed or the second seed, no. If your opponent is the other one of these two, your win rate is pretty much 50-50. Doesn't matter which one of these you are. And this is only true in China. In all the other regions, the higher seed from the regular season has a much higher chance of winning the finals. So I'm going to leave you with that. You can interpret a bunch of more things and find your own explanations for these stats that I've listed here. I would love to hear your own theories on Reddit and in the YouTube comments, so please feel free to comment down below. And I'll see you next time for more of these stats videos.